I'd like to tell you the story of Albert Scholarship winner and Amy Housewife. Albert Scholarship winner, 90 days earlier, addressed his high school graduating class, told them to aim high and give it everything they had in every endeavor that they undertook. Later that night in the evening, after partying with his friend Jonathan, Albert was picked up by his older brother Derek. Derek wanted to celebrate and congratulate Albert for being the only of his five brothers to graduate from high school. The rest of them had not done so successfully. Um, Albert and Derek were riding up the street and they decided to go to the store. Unbeknownst to Albert, several hours earlier, before picking up Albert, Derek had been riding around town with four of his friends, smoking marijuana in his neon yellow Hummer prior to coming and picking up Albert. When he picks up Albert and pulls up to the convenience store, blasting loud music, the latest song that Rick Ross's latest LP was that year, two officers that were in the store buying Red Bull come out while Albert and Derek were conversing. They approached the vehicle and asked Derek to turn the music down. While they're asking Derek to turn the music down, they notice that Derek has a burning marijuana joint inside the console of the vehicle, sitting in the middle of him and Albert. Derek refuses to let them search because Derek knows that he has 3 bricks of cocaine underneath Albert's seat. Albert knows nothing about the cocaine. Upon doing an inventory search, which is what they do in Louisiana and a lot of other jurisdictions, they discover the cocaine and charge Albert with the cocaine. Now Albert, who had a 3.8 GPA, scored a 35 on the ACT and was his school valedictorian and was going to be the first of all of his brothers to go to a university. And not only that, he had an all-paid scholarship to Harvard University, and he also had the plane ticket already purchased and all his accommodations. Now, as each court date goes by, Albert, it appears, won't be attending Harvard University because Derek, due to his previous criminal record, was facing his 4th strike, and he's unwilling to admit that those were his drugs that he was scheduled to take 2 states away to some of the other guys that he does business with on the preceding day. Albert knew nothing about it and has nothing to offer, and they think that he's attempting to protect Derek. But the actuality, Derek is protecting himself. On the other side of town, there's Amy Housewife. Amy Housewife is 34 years old. Amy Housewife is married to a truck driver. The truck driver that she's married to, he goes on frequent trips. He's an owner-operator, and he has to go on frequent trips from time to time where he stays overnight. Well, on the nights that Amy Housewife's husband is off overnight driving, she sees a fella named Mike, the real estate developer. Mike picks her up about 3 nights a week, and on this particular night, Mike picks up Amy. Mike has been had a few drinks, about 4 cranberry and vodkas, and about 3 hydrocodone. And so he's been driving erratically all night. He picks up Amy, and about 3 minutes in on their trip, Mike begins to do 90 and a 35. The officer on detail notices Mike's speed, pulls him over. Mike pretends as if he's going to comply, then refuses to and drives off. The officer calls in to dispatch, and they send 2 or 3 other officers out. Eventually, Mike slows down, and he's pulled over. Now, what was initially going to be a possible DWI stop is now an aggravated flight and a possession. Mike doesn't have the presence of mind to inform the officer that he can't search, so therefore he consents to the search, not knowing that the pills are the remainder of Mike's hydrocodone pills are under her seat. Amy is then charged with possession of Schedule 2. And so now Amy is facing up to 5 years in prison and a $5,000 fine. Had Amy checked on what was under Mike's seat or asked him if he had any drugs in the car, she may have been okay. And had Albert declined to ride with Derek and had merely met Derek at his location, he might have been okay. But he did not. Amy, Amy's stuck in her situation, and Mike's unwilling to come clean about to the DA's office or officers about the drugs being his because he doesn't want his lenders that lend him money so that he can acquire new real estate and also extend them lines of credit to find out that he has a drug problem, because then they will rescind their credit and he'll lose his business. Amy's in a very, very big bind because now she has to explain to her husband why she, instead of watching their two kids, Allie and Megan, which are ages 5 and 7, instead of being home with them at 2 o'clock in the morning, why they were at home sleep all alone, and she was out in the car with some guy named Mike. So now she stands a chance of losing her marriage because, well, Amy's husband now has moved out and he's requesting custody of the kids. And so it's a tough situation, all because she chose to ride with an individual who had substances in the vehicle and who's unwilling to say, hey, those are my drugs. As you can see, 90 days earlier, both of these individuals' lives were fine. And I picked these two different distinct characters to illustrate to you that it doesn't matter who you are. If you get in a vehicle with individuals that engage in recreational drug use, you may end up ensnared in a possession charge. Because in Louisiana, there's a fancy term called constructive possession, which means that if either of us can get anywhere near the drugs or have access to the drugs while we're in the car in a particular location, then we constructively possess them, which is fancy for we both possess the drugs. So my message to you, and especially young high school guys and young high school girls that often ride with other people and give other folks rides, be totally aware of what the other person has in the car and who you're allowing to ride with you and what they have and what their habits are. Or if you think that they're an unscrupulous person, just meet them wherever you guys intend on going. That's all I have for you today. I hope you guys enjoyed my story.